At 15, my father shoved me into an October storm because of one lie my sister told. He screamed, "Get out. I don't need a sick kid in my house." I walked away with nothing but my school backpack. 3 hours later, the police called him. And when the officer said those words, my dad went silent, then turned ghost white. Because they didn't just find me. They found who planted everything. My name is Nora Blake. I'm 29 now, living in Seattle, and rain still makes my hands shake. Tonight, there's a letter on my kitchen counter, written on cheap nursing home paper. After 14 years of silence, my father wants to see me. He says he's dying. He says he's sorry. But the truth is, the night he threw me out didn't just almost kill me. It exposed a secret my family spent years burying. And once you hear what the retired CPS worker found in my sister's evidence, you'll understand why my dad's apology came way too late. October 22, 2010. I remember it because it was the first time the air smelled like winter. I came home from school in Lakewood Heights, a quiet little suburb outside Minneapolis, the kind of place where people pretend everything is fine because the lawns are trimmed. Our house sat on a corner lot with a white garage and a mailbox that leaned slightly left, 2147, Maplecrest Drive. The kind of address that looks normal until you realize what happened behind that door. I walked in holding my backpack with my algebra book and a half-crushed granola bar. I had just gotten an A on a test. I was thinking about dinner. Normal 15-year-old stuff. The second I stepped inside, I knew something was wrong. My father, Mark Blake, stood in the living room like a man about to explode. His face was red, jaw clenched, hands shaking. In one fist, he held cash. In the other, 2 empty pill bottles. My stepmother, Denise, hovered near the kitchen doorway, arms crossed, silent. Denise had 2 moods, quiet and quieter. And then I saw my sister. Sloane. 19 years old. Pretty. Perfect. The irresponsible one everyone loved. She stood behind my dad with that concerned, saintly expression, but her eyes gave her away. There was a flicker in them. Not sadness. Not worry. Satisfaction. My dad didn't let me put my backpack down. He shouted that I'd been stealing from him. That he'd found cash hidden in my room. That I'd been buying pills. That he'd seen messages, proof I was talking to dealers. I tried to speak. I tried to breathe. But he kept yelling like volume could replace truth. Sloane stepped forward, voice trembling like a Hallmark movie. Dad. I didn't want to tell you. I tried to help her. I really did. But I can't watch her destroy herself. My father swallowed it whole. Every lie. Every tear. Every performance. Denise said nothing. Not one word. She just watched like the outcome had already been decided. My dad grabbed my arm hard enough to bruise it and dragged me toward the door. He threw my backpack into my chest so I stumbled. Then he opened the front door. Rain crashed down in sheets. Wind slammed cold air into the hallway like a warning. And my father said the words I still hear in nightmares, "Get out. I don't need a sick kid in my house." He shoved me onto the porch. The door slammed. The deadbolt clicked. And just like that, I was homeless at 15. No phone. No coat. No money. My phone was upstairs on my desk. But I wasn't allowed to grab anything except the backpack already soaked through. I stood there staring at the door, waiting for it to open again. Waiting for someone to say, "We made a mistake." Nobody came. So I started walking. The only place I could think of was my grandmother's house. My mom's mom. Evelyn Cross. She lived 7 miles away in a small town called Riverbend. Her address was burned into my memory because it was the only place I ever felt safe, 58, Birch Hollow Lane. 7 miles doesn't sound like much in a car. But in soaked sneakers, no coat, no phone, and October wind cutting through your clothes like knives, it might as well be 70. I walked along County Road 12, headlights passing like they didn't want to see me. After a mile, my fingers went numb. After 2 miles, my teeth wouldn't stop chattering. After 3 miles, my thoughts started to slow, like my brain was sinking in cold water. That's the thing about hypothermia. It doesn't feel dramatic at first. It feels like tired. Like sitting down, for just a second, is a good idea. By the time I reached mile 4, my legs buckled. There was a roadside mailbox ahead, blue, dented. I remember thinking I'd lean on it for a minute. Just 1 minute. Then my knees hit gravel. And the world went dark. 3 hours after my father shoved me out, his phone rang. I know, because later, a nurse told me my dad's face went pale so fast she thought he'd faint. The voice on the other end was cold and professional. Mr. Blake? This is Officer Harlan with County Police. Your daughter has been found unconscious on County Road 12 with signs of hypothermia. She's being transported to Northcrest General. Pause. And sir, Child Protective Services has been notified. A caseworker is already on site. That's when my dad's world shifted. Because suddenly it wasn't about discipline anymore. It wasn't about tough love. It was about the question no parent wants asked out loud: why was a 15-year-old girl alone in a storm with no coat and no phone? My father and Sloan arrived at the hospital expecting to find me guilty, scared, and begging. Instead, they found a room with a police officer, a CPS caseworker, and a woman with silver hair in a neat bun, sitting beside my bed like she owned the truth. Her name was Marjorie Klein. And she wasn't just any visitor. She had spent 33 years working for CPS before retiring. And she was the one who found me. When I woke up, I smelled antiseptic and warm blankets. My hands were wrapped in heated pads. My throat hurt. My hair was damp and tangled. And there she was, Marjorie Klein, reading glasses low on her nose, watching me like she could see right through the lies. She handed me a paper cup of coffee. "This is terrible," she said. "But it's warm." I laughed, just a tiny sound, and it surprised me. Then she leaned in and said the sentence that changed my entire life: "Tell me why you were out there. And don't worry. I'll know if you're being coached." So I told her everything. The accusations. The pills I'd never seen. The cash I didn't take. My sister's fake concern. My stepmother's silence. Marjorie didn't interrupt. She didn't judge. When I finished, she nodded once. "I believe you." Then she added, "And if your sister planted it, we'll prove it." When my father walked into my hospital room, he looked annoyed, like my near death was an inconvenience. Sloan walked behind him, her face carefully arranged into worried sister. CPS caseworker Tanya Rivera stood by the door with a clipboard. Officer Harlan stood with his arms crossed. And then my grandmother arrived. Evelyn Cross was 5 feet tall and made of pure steel. I heard her before I saw her, heels clicking fast down the hallway. She swept into the room, took one look at me, then turned on my father like he was a stranger who'd hit her dog. "That's my granddaughter," she said. "What did you do?" My father tried to explain: pills, cash, messages, evidence. Evelyn listened for about 10 seconds and then lifted her chin. "Mark," she said, calm like ice, "you threw a child into a storm without checking a single fact. That's not parenting. That's abandonment." Denise didn't show up. Denise never showed up. That night, Tanya Rivera filed emergency paperwork. Marjorie Klein backed it with her retired CPS authority and her statement as the one who found me. Before midnight, a judge granted temporary guardianship to my grandmother. I left the hospital with Evelyn wrapped around me like a shield. As we walked past my father, he reached out like he wanted to touch my hand. Evelyn stepped between us without slowing. "You don't get to touch her," she said. "You lost that right the moment you threw her into rain." My grandmother's house smelled like soup and clean sheets. It wasn't fancy. It was safe. 2 days later, CPS started investigating. And Marjorie Klein wasn't the kind of woman who checked boxes. She traced details like a detective. First, the cash. My father said he found $600 in my dresser drawer. Marjorie asked one simple question: where did that cash come from? My father didn't know. So Tanya Rivera pulled bank records. There was a single ATM withdrawal of $600, made the same day I got kicked out. Timestamp, 2:11 p.m. At 2:11 p.m., I was sitting in chemistry class. Attendance proved it. Teacher confirmed it. I could not have made that withdrawal. So who did? The ATM had a camera. They pulled the footage. The person withdrawing the money wasn't me. It was Sloan. Clear as day. Ponytail. Same jacket. Same purse. The perfect sister, caught on video taking the exact amount she later claimed I stole. Then came the pill bottles. The prescription label wasn't mine. It was tied to Gavin Rusk, Sloane's boyfriend. Pharmacy records showed the meds were filled 2 weeks earlier. And here's the part that made Tanya Rivera's eyes narrow. Gavin reported those meds stolen 3 days after I was kicked out. Which made no sense. Because if the pills were already found in my room, how were they stolen later? Answer: they weren't stolen. They were planted. Then the messages. My father claimed he saw texts from a dealer. Marjorie asked to see the phone. It was a cheap prepaid burner number written on a sticky note. Tanya traced the purchase. Convenience store footage showed who bought it. Same ponytail. Same purse. Same girl. Sloan. When people heard what she did, they asked one question: why would a sister do that? The answer was ugly. My mother, before she died, had created 2 small trust accounts. Nothing huge. But enough to change your life if you were broke. $35,000 each. Accessible at age 18. Sloan got hers first. And she burned through it in less than a year: shopping, trips, her boyfriends, business ideas. By the time I was 15, she was broke and desperate. But my money sat untouched. And the trust had a clause, meant to protect kids, that said if I was declared legally incapable before 18, a guardian could manage the account. Sloan wanted to be that guardian. And to make that happen, she needed me labeled unstable, addicted, sick. That's why she staged the evidence. Because it wasn't just about throwing me out. It was about taking what I was worth. The court date came in spring. Sloan sat on the other side of the room looking smaller than I'd ever seen her. My father sat alone. Denise stayed home. Evelyn held my hand. Tanya Rivera testified. Marjorie Klein testified too: quiet, sharp, unstoppable. ATM footage. Pharmacy records. School attendance. Security video of the burner phone purchase. Sloane's lies didn't crack. They shattered. The judge granted permanent guardianship to my grandmother. A restraining order barred Sloan from contacting me. Restitution was ordered. My father who threw me into rain, was ordered to pay child support and therapy costs. When court ended, my father tried to speak to me. Evelyn stepped between us again. "You don't get to apologize until you understand what you did," she said. "And you still don't." We walked out into sunlight. And I didn't look back. Life didn't magically become perfect. But it became mine. I finished high school with my grandmother. I worked part-time. I got scholarships. I clawed my way into a life no one could steal. Now I'm 29. Seattle. A small apartment with a view of gray water and boats. The rain is constant. But it doesn't scare me the same way. Then the letter arrived. Return address, Cedar Ridge Care Center Unit 3B, Tacoma Heights, fictitio. My grandmother called and said, "I think you should see this." The handwriting was shaky. My father wrote, "Nora, I don't deserve your time. I had a stroke. I'm not the man I was. I'm at Cedar Ridge now. I'm sorry. Denise left years ago. Sloane tried to visit. I refused to see her. I can't look at her without remembering what I did to you. If you can come once, just once. I'd like to apologize before I go." I stared at that letter so long my coffee went cold. Did I owe him anything? No. But forgiveness isn't about them. It's about releasing what rots inside you. So I went. Nursing homes smell like disinfectant and endings. My father looked small. Not scary. Not powerful. Not loud. Just small. He cried when he saw me. He apologized again and again. I let him talk. Then I said what I came to say. "I forgive you." His face collapsed with relief. But I held up my hand. "Let me finish." I leaned forward. "Forgiveness doesn't mean you get access to me. It doesn't mean you get your role back. It means I'm done carrying you." He tried to speak, but I kept going. "You threw me into a storm because a lie was easier than looking at the truth. You didn't protect me. You protected your pride." I felt my voice shake, then steady. "I built my life without you. I learned love doesn't require you to beg for it. I learned family is who keeps the door open when the world is cold." He nodded, crying quietly. And then I stood. At the door, he reached out, just his fingers, trembling. I let him touch my hand for 1 second. Then I walked out. In the hallway, a nurse stopped me. "You're the younger daughter, right?" I nodded. She sighed. "Your sister came last week." He refused to see her. For a second, I didn't know what to feel. Not joy. Not revenge. Just completion. Like the last page of a book turning. I walked outside into October air. Same month. Different life. 14 years ago, October was rain and gravel and darkness. Now October is coffee, leaves, and a future I built with my own hands. Some storms don't destroy you. They redirect you. That night, I lost a house. But I found a home. I lost a father who didn't deserve me. But I found a grandmother who did. And the sister who tried to erase me? She didn't win. Because I'm still here. Standing. Breathing. Living. And if you're watching this feeling like your own family is trying to break you, hear me clearly, you are not selfish for protecting yourself. You are not wrong for choosing safety over blood. Sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is walk out into the storm and never go back.